Hello, my friends. I'm happy to be with you today as I begin to share with you some of the strategies that help make me the world's fastest reader. My name is Howard Berg, and I'm going to take you on an adventure today in learning. I'm going to show you how to unlock your ability to learn anything faster and better in just a few hours' time. Actually, we're going to do it in an hour today. So let's go into my share screen. And we will share my entire screen. Let's do that. Perfect. We get our kaleidoscope effect, and let's begin. And we'll have some fun while we do this as well. So as you probably have seen, I'm Howard Berg, and I'm considered the world's fastest reader. That's me in the Guinness World Record book, and I'm a proud member also of Alliances, which is an international group of people who are strategic leaders. And I'd like you to stay to the end because I have a very special gift for you, an ebook, the Speed Reading Bible, and it'll be sent to you at the end of the webinar. I'll give you a link and you'll be able to download it absolutely free. Would you agree the best learning comes from learning from the best? So if Michael Jordan would show you how to throw a basketball, that would be phenomenal. Or if Bill Gates would teach you how to do business. Or if my friend Peyton Manning would show you how to throw a football. Well, Bill, Michael, and Peyton just couldn't make it today. But I'm here, and I'm considered their equivalent in my niche of learning. I recently trained the Royal Thai Army and the U.S. Special Forces. The U.S. Special Forces at Fort Bragg and the Royal Thai Army in Thailand, in Bangkok. I also have kids as young as 11, students as young as 11, going to college and getting A's in as little as a week, consistently. And I'm going to share with you these strategies today. So, would you like to learn faster? Say yes. And would you like to become more productive? Say yes. And would you like to have more time to do the things you love? Say yes. And that's a big one. Time is one thing we all get the same. The difference between a Bill Gates and you is how they use that time. And today you're going to start making much better use of your time as you learn the information you need to succeed in today's knowledge-based economy. So whether you're a student wanting higher grades, a professional wanting to increase productivity, or a senior wanting to stay mentally fit, you've come to the right place. So here are some keys for higher grades and professional success. I'm going to show you how to read faster, improve your comprehension, develop a laser-sharp memory, eliminate writer's block, how to ignite brilliance, genius. You actually can learn this. Some math, magic, and EQ skills. And we'll make it fun. I'm a big believer learning should be fun. Remember the teachers you loved? Those are the subjects you really excelled in. The ones that you couldn't wait for the bell to ring. Someone kill me. When is it going to be over? Those are the ones you didn't learn so well from. When you're having fun, the endorphins are flowing in your brain, and it makes you feel good. And you want to remember what made you feel good. In this case, it's what you were learning. And you want to take notes. You're going to want to remember what you learned today. I'm going to give you some very specific skills, and you're going to share this with the people you care about. I'll tell you a little about myself first and why you should pay attention to what I have to share with you today. And then I'm going to teach you a lot of very, very significant skills. We'll make time go quickly. Here's one of my students, Micah. He passed the California bar at 19. Look how young he is. Was it a fluke? His brother's 22. He's an attorney, flight instructor, and recently became a pilot for Southwest. His 15-year-old sister in her first year of law school will be the youngest person in history to pass the California bar. And his 17-year-old brother is in his second year of law school and will be the second youngest person to pass the bar. And Mike is 19. He didn't even make the cut as the youngest person. What I taught them, I'm going to be teaching you today as well. So pay attention. I unlocked the secret to super fast learning. I used to struggle with all my reading like you, with books and magazines and mail, journals, and more. Now, it all started for me in Brooklyn. You may have noticed I live in Texas, but I don't have a native Texas accent. I grew up in South Brooklyn, bad part of Brooklyn. I grew up in the projects. There were a lot of gangs. It was extremely violent. But I found one safe place in my neighborhood, the library. Gang kids would rather be dead than caught in a library. So I read a lot. And I found by the time I was 11, I had college reading. Then I went to college at 17 to the State University of New York, Binghamton, which is in the top 10 public colleges. I majored in biology. I was interested in what makes something alive till I got to my junior year. And then I was interested in the brain and how it works. So I said to the dean, I want to do 2 majors, psych and bio. I wanted to be a psychobiologist, not a psychotic biologist. That's someone who makes a Frankenstein monster. But a psychobiologist, which is someone who is interested in how the brain is related to behavior. He said, you can't. You're a second-term junior. You have only 1 semester, 1 year left. You have to take the 4-year psych program in 1 year. You haven't had a single psych course. You'll have to take 6 science courses at the same time, 2 4-hour labs. And I also had 3 jobs. I was working 18 hours a week. He said, frankly, you're not smart enough. And that's when it hit me. They don't teach learning in school or at work. Isn't it amazing? You can listen to a song on the radio once and remember it your entire life. And then you read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and the next day you don't know what any of the habits are. So there has to be a way to learn things that matter, the way we learn those songs. And it turns out there was. So I got up to 80 pages a minute using what I learned about the brain. And I took the graduate record exam in biology. I scored an 800, which is in the 99th percentile. In 3 nights, I reviewed 48 books like biochemistry, cell physiology, genetics, plant systematics, not the lightest reading. I got 3 questions wrong. And I did complete the 4-year psych program in 1 year. And then I wondered, was it me or did I find a better way to learn? The only one way to find out is to teach it to other people. I had a school. I took a group of young people, 11 to 15, very young, gave them a 30-chapter book in lifelong developmental psychology, which is a sophomore course in college. Remember, these are 11 to 15-year-olds. They finished it in 1 week, and 15 out of 18 students passed the course taking an AP test called the eclub. So it wasn't just that I could do it, I could teach it. And that's what we're going to do today. We did a program in the early 90s called Mega Speed Reading. It made $65 million. It was the highest grossing self-help program in history. I was very proud to be part of it. No, I didn't get $65 million. The program grossed $65 million, but I was very proud to be part of that. And then we scientifically tested it. We did a double-blind efficacy study to prove that it worked. And I wasn't even allowed in the city where the study was done. People using the program were able to double to quadruple their reading speed with very, very good comprehension. We used the Nelson-Denny, which is a standardized test for speed and comprehension. There was an A and a B test. To make sure the B test didn't make people look smarter because it was easier, we did 50 people A and B, and 50 did B and A. And then they did a statistical analysis and found it made no difference which order the tests were. Everyone doubled or quadrupled with very good comprehension. Very exciting news, so we know it works. And this was a broad range of people, young people, old people. In fact, one of my oldest students was Ruth Lubin. She was 84 when she took the course. I was teaching it in Pasadena. And she called me the next day and said she read 3 books in 3 hours. I said, that's incredible. She says, yeah, at my age, I don't know how much time I have left, but there's so much more I want to learn. Thank you. And I got to be friends with her. She was a wonderful person. I was been on about 1,100 shows. One of my favorites, I helped launch the Comedy Central network with Dennis Leary in the late 80s. He had his own show. It was one of his first shows. He had 14 shows. I was on 7 out of 14. And I was Jon Stewart's first guest. Now, you don't see a lot of biologists asked to do comedy, and there's a good reason. I'll show you why. Mushroom walks in a bar. Bartender says, get out. We don't serve your kind. Mushroom says, why not? I'm a fun guy. And that's why biologists don't get to do comedy. Anyway, continuing, I was with Justin Timberlake, Amy Sedaris, and Peyton Manning is the spokesperson for Sony's e-reader. And that's me reading on Cavuto, the healthcare bill. Now, that's the last part. It was 1,500 pages. I read it in 50 minutes and did a total analysis. So, yes, you can do some amazing things when you learn this skill that I'm going to share with you today. So while viewing this presentation, think about how many ways this can help you and people you love succeed. Are you ready? Let's get started. Problem is information overload. More information is published each week than in all human history through the year 1800. Every 6 months, information doubles. That's a fact. The average person only reads about 200 words a minute. This has caused some real big problems. In school, 28% of high school seniors, not the dropouts, can't read at the 8th grade level. And 38% of seniors can't count. We're talking decimals and fractions in the 12th grade, where they're doing calculus in Europe in the 6th and 7th grade. So this is a big issue. And 1/3 of 17-year-olds couldn't put France on a map. So it's not just reading and math, it's everything that's been affected. 10% of high school graduates can write a paragraph. That's appalling. So we're going to learn a lot about how to fix these problems today. In college, 70% drop out of 2-year college and 50% out of 4-year college. Big problem. Here's one of my students, Stephen. Stephen graduated University of Texas Arlington at 16 with a 4.0 GPA, majored in economics. Backstory, he finished at 15. His mother said he couldn't go to graduate school till he was old enough to drive, and you have to be 16 in Texas. That's kind of funny, but true. He went to graduate school at the University of Oklahoma at 18 for a master's in math. They paid him $27,000 to teach math when he was 18 to undergraduates. He got room, board, books, and tuition. He had a problem. He was a teacher, so he couldn't date undergraduates. He says, what am I supposed to do? I said, Stephen, you have to teach math and you're working on a master's degree. You don't have got time to date. You can date when you go home. And he graduated at 19 with a 3.97 GPA. Now here's the best part. Now he's a professor at Yale. Very exciting. He's a genius, absolutely. But I showed him how to learn and use his natural abilities better. Are you ready to learn read faster? Let's do it. The secret to reading faster. When this is over, later on, pick a book you've read, preferably nonfiction. You want to make sure the book you're reading would not confuse you at your normal reading speed. If you don't know what it means at a normal speed, it's a bad book to learn to read faster in. Take a pen, take a smartphone. I think I have a smartphone in my pocket. Set up your timer or use a smartwatch. Time yourself for a minute. Read normal. Don't do anything special. See how far you get when the bell rings, and then take a pen or a pencil and put a little line in the margin where you finished. So now you know how far you can read in a minute. Now here's the secret. You're going to read one line at a time in the second chapter with your hands moving from the left to the right margin and eyes following your hand. From the left to the right margin with your eyes following your hand. Make sure you go all the way across and not down the middle. And for 5 minutes, go as fast as you could comprehend. So what I'd like you to do is go quicker and quicker till you can't comprehend. And then you know when it got too fast. And slow down just enough so your comprehension comes back. And for 5 minutes, go at this peak speed with your eyes following your hand and continual motion from the left to the right margin. Then go back to the first chapter where you initially tested your speed. And time yourself again for a minute, but this time using your hand to read as fast as you could comprehend. You'll be amazed. You're going to read 20, 30, maybe 40% further than the little mark you put in the first time. Just doing this one simple change. It's the first step in learning to read faster. It takes a few hours to go 100% faster with great comprehension, but this is a great place to start. And you'll be so amazed with yourself as you see your success. Wouldn't you agree? Comprehension is far more important than speed. About 30 years ago, when MSNBC first launched, one of their hosts was Dick Cavett, who was a very famous television personality in the 70s. And we got to be friends after my interview, and we were chatting, and he said to me, I was interviewing Woody Allen, and Woody told me he read War and Peace in 5 minutes after learning how to speed read. I said, that's incredible. He said, He said, what do you remember? He said, it's about the Russian Revolution. That's all I remember. And that's what speed reading was about. You could tell it was a bio book. It was a history book. But as far as actually learning in depth, it's very bad. And if you slow down and learn a new word or a new idea, you lost your speed. So people got very frustrated. I fixed the problem. The man who owned Evelyn Woods in its heyday was Maurice Thompson Jr. He hired me to train his son and told me I'd gone past speed reading, taking it into the 21st century to accelerated learning. And I'm going to show you one of the secrets of how I did that. And it's called schema. Schema is how your brain makes sense out of text. And I learned this in graduate school. This is a passage that has no schema. And watch how confusing it is. And on the next page, I have the same passage with a title that has schema. And instantly, it'll make total sense. Are you ready? Let's do it together. This is an easy thing to do. Many people are able to do this at an early age. Careful not to rush, or you may have a serious problem. Learn it by yourself, but probably will want someone to help you. Not that meaningful, is it? Watch what happens when we put a title on with schema. Bike riding. This is an easy thing to do. Many people are able to do this at an early age. Be careful not to rush, or you may have a serious problem. Learn it by yourself, but probably will want someone to help you. Are you confused now? Of course not. You know what it's about. So by training people on how to find these schematic clues, it's like the decoder ring. You could read very technical information 2, 3, 4 times faster and still understand it. It also means you can slow down when you need to learn new words or ideas, and then immediately speed right back up again, which you couldn't do in traditional speed reading because it was basically just the hand motions like I was showing you in the last lesson. And that works, but if that's all you're using, you're going to have a lot of problems when you get to something that's dense and confusing and unfamiliar, and you take time to slow down and learn it, you'll lose your speed. Not with this system. It eliminates it because we're integrating psychological strategies, not just mechanical strategies, and we fixed the problem. How will you use this? Well, you can cut your study time in half, finish your reading in nights instead of weeks, become more productive and profitable. Every decision you make in business is based on one thing: what you know. Well, I've read almost 30,000 books, so if I was a total idiot, I'd be well informed. Information is the lifeblood of business in a knowledge-based economy. This is a knowledge management strategy, not just speed reading. For students, it's about finishing school and learning how to learn new skills faster. So if you have to get a different job, you're not sitting around wondering what to do. You learn the new skills quicker. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I hate reading. I love learning. To me, reading is a tool, like a screwdriver. You could build a doghouse or a mansion with a screwdriver. About 15 years ago, I was lecturing on cruise ships. And my wife wanted to go to Hawaii. And they had a cruise that went to all the islands. So I said, that's perfect. I'd like to teach on that cruise. And they said, well, they don't want speed reading, which was what I did, right? So I wasn't happy about that. They said, well, what do they want? They said, they want someone to teach Photoshop, video, and photography. So I said, well, I teach that. No, I didn't. But I know I learned 80 times faster than normal. And if you read 10 books on something, you're an expert. At least if you understand what you read, you're an expert. That's why in college you take 8 to 10 courses in your major. You're an expert. So I bought 10 books on Photoshop. I read them in 3 hours. I learned Photoshop. I didn't know it takes 4 years in college. I did it in 3 hours. Next day I bought 10 books on photography. Learned it in 3 hours. Next day I bought 10 books on video. Learned it in 3 hours. Now, I went to the cruise saying, hopefully these people will be really old and not know what a digital camera is. Like, you mean they don't use film anymore? Well, the first man walks in the room. He says, I've been a professional photographer 38 years. And he has a lens on his camera that was literally $7,000. My camera was $90. His lens was $7,000. He came to learn photography from me. The second guy walks in. He says, I've been doing Photoshop for 5 years. I hear you're an expert. My wife's in the front row. She's kind of crying because they said if I didn't do it, they'd throw us off the cruise. not in the water, but when we got to shore. And they did throw people off the cruise. We saw it. So for a week, I'm teaching them photography and Photoshop and video. At the end of the week, they said to me, how many years did it take to learn all that information? I couldn't say I learned last week. I spent 3 days, 3 hours a day. That's the win to me. I don't have time to learn new computer software. I don't have got time to read new laws and rules and regulations or books I have to know for school. I need to learn it now, today, quickly. And to me, that's the real blessing. It's not the reading. It's the skills that I get from the reading. This is Justin. He was just a C student when I met him. 11-year-old C student. Nice man. Nice young man, but not a genius. Normal person. We taught him the system in my school. He graduated high school at 15, got his associate's degree at 17, his bachelor's degree at 19, a master's degree in English at 21. Justin became a college professor at Tarrant Community College at 22. 11-year-old C student, 22-year-old English professor. Pretty exciting. Think about what this could do for you. And now, the most important skill of all, and it's called emotional intelligence. Imagine I teach you how to drive, and you're ready for your road test. And I tell you, go make your appointment, and you call me and say, I failed the test. Why did you fail the test? I'd ask. I got nervous. It was a test. How many of you have gotten nervous in a test or speaking in public? Many people experience these things. That's an emotional intelligence issue. I'm going to teach you how to create a state so that doesn't happen anymore. So let me get out of this screen. Let me get out of this, and I am going to go back to turn off screen share. Here I am. Hide the children. Don't be scared. Let's have some fun now. I'm going to show you how to get energy whenever you need it. So if you're driving in traffic, you can wake up. If you're taking a class after work and you're tired, you can wake up. Long, boring test, wake up. If you're taking an SAT, wake up. Anytime you need that rush of energy without the caffeine side effects, you'll be able to do this. And I'm going to show you step by step now how to accomplish this. This is sort of what I was teaching the special forces and in the Thai Army as well. Emotional intelligence skills. So, we know the left side of the brain controls which part of our body? The right. And the right side controls the left. So do this with me. You won't learn by watching. You'll learn by doing. Ideally, you should stand. If I stand up, you'll see my navel. That won't help you. So I'm going to sit. But if you'd really like to get the best results, I recommend you stand for this one exercise. Take your left hand, touch your right shoulder. Do it. Take your right hand, touch your left shoulder. Do it. And we'll alternate left to right, right to left. Like the Macarena without the music. Same skill. Take your left hand, touch your right knee. Take your right hand, touch your left knee. Alternate. You'll see you have to think a little more if you're standing because your knee is moving and your hand, so both sides of your brain are doing something. Now, grasp your thumb in your right hand like I am and say this like you mean it. I feel great. And go, yes. And say it like you mean it with passion. If you don't feel it, there's no state. I can't create a state that isn't there. Okay? So we're going to do 3 sets of these together at my speed. Starting with the shoulder taps. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Knees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How do you feel? I feel great. Yes. Second set a little faster. Go at my speed. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How do you feel? I feel great. Yes. This time we're going to go as fast as you possibly can. All out. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How do you feel? I feel great. Yes. Feel great. Sit down. Give yourselves a hand. Put Put a smile on your face. Now, you know what happens when you do this 3 times? Nothing. You probably would like something. So let me show you how that works. Remember Pavlov? Rang a bell, fed a dog. Rang a bell, fed a dog. Rang a bell, and the dog eventually drooled. You don't want to drool, but you do want to feel great. The latest studies show that habits take 90 days, not 30 days. So, every day, do slow, medium, fast, shoulders and legs, knees, and then go, I feel great each time. And now you're in an important meeting, a business meeting, or taking an important exam, or driving in traffic, and you need that boost. You don't want to stand up in a meeting and start tapping your shoulders. You'll look a little strange. What you do is you grab your thumb and say to yourself, I feel great, yes. That's your bell. I feel great, yes, is the conditioned stimulus. Releasing the state that you've created over and over by stimulating the left and the right and both together in the pattern that I showed you. And in this way, you can get unlimited energy. So when you need to wake up, something important, now you have a way to do it quickly. And this is kind of what I was teaching the special forces. I taught them other states as well, but we don't have time for that today. But you can learn how to focus, how to concentrate. You can learn how to relax so you don't feel stressed out. Imagine when you were taking that road test. If I not only taught you how to drive, but how to stay calm and relaxed during the test, how many more of my students would graduate? Something to think about. That's EQ. Okay, let's go back to sharing my screen. There's the kaleidoscope. We'll go back to EQ. We will go back to slideshow, and we're in. All right, let's try that. Let's do it. Here's an important question for those in business. What are you doing to create the emotional states needed to be successful? What states do the people that are working with you need to be in to do their jobs better? What states do your customers and clients need to be in to use the skills you're giving to them? And what states do you need to get them away from? And what are you doing to create those states? For students, it's about studies and academic success. In business, like the driver's ed, if you teach people not just how to drive, but how to stay calm during the test, how many more successful students would you have? How many more referrals would you get? So it's not just for school, it's for school and business. In fact, it's for life. Now let's talk about writer's block. Remember I mentioned earlier that only 10% of high school graduates can write a paragraph? I wrote a book in 5 hours, so that's not one of my problems. And I'm going to show you how to get started in eliminating writer's block. The key is getting into and sustaining the creative flow. So what causes writer's block? Actually, 2 things. A normal way of communicating is by speaking. But when we write, we use our hands. We're writing one letter at a time instead of speaking words. And so we have to reroute how the brain is outputting information from our mouth to our hands. And there's some inertia doing it. It doesn't always happen quickly. So getting started is often challenging as we're rerouting our thought processes through our hands instead of our mouths. But sustaining the flow once it starts is much easier. As evidence that you're writing a report and the phone rings and you keep writing while you're on the phone. You couldn't get started quickly, but once you got started, keeping it going was pretty simple. And there's a lot of ways to learn how to get started really quickly as well. And I'm going to show you a few strategies today. What else causes writer's block? Well, your left hemisphere of your brain is primarily the editor, the spell checker, the grammar checker. And the right hemisphere of your brain is more interested in telling the story. Now see if you can relate to this. You write 10, 15, 20 lines, you look at it and say, this is terrible, and you hit the delete key over and over, and after an hour, nothing's done. I call that brain freeze. You're trying to write and edit at the same time. The editing brain and the creative brain cannot simultaneously work together well. One is interested in flow and getting the idea out, and one is interested in perfection. So what I do is I write a rough draft. My first draft is about a D, a C minus D. And then I unleash my left brain and let it edit and take it up to an A. I do no editing on the first draft. I just continue to stay in flow and get everything out that I want, and then I fix it. And then it takes much less time. It sounds like more work, but it takes less time, and you won't experience brain freeze. So don't edit and create at the same time. That's a big tip. Now, how do you turn on creative flow? I'm going to give you a strategy on how to draw on others' work for inspiration. And this was inspired by an interview I read with Paul McCartney. Now, I'm in the Guinness Book as the world's fastest reader. I was in the 1990s Guinness Book of World Records. That's where my reading claim was printed. Paul is in the Guinness Book as the most prolific songwriter in history. And he described his strategy in an interview. And he said what he did is he listened to an old song, a song that was already in reality, it existed. He changed some notes, he changed some chords, he changed some words, and he kept doing it. And when he was done, it was a new song. The old song disappeared. I'm going to show you 3 ways you can integrate his strategy into writing anything. Writing a song is like a story, but it's a 3-minute story instead of a whole book. In some ways, it's even harder to do that because it's so short. You have to have a whole story in a very short amount of space. First thing you can do is use a book's organizational format. Find a book that's written in a style, the way the formatting is, the pictures, the charts, the diagrams, that's perfect for what you're trying to write. And copy out a chapter so you begin to mirror what's in the book and you're learning the structure. And then stop copying and continue writing with the information you actually want to write about using the same organizational format. And you end up deleting what you wrote originally and it's all yours. Just like Paul. You started with someone else's and then you converted it to your own. So here you choose a book, look at the format, and how will I use this, and use that format to write your book. Second thing is to copy the writing style you like. So find a writer who writes well, that you like the way they use description and metaphors and similes, and copy out a chapter so you begin mirroring what they're doing. Then stop copying and begin writing your material using the same style you just used. And then delete what you copied and what's left is your own material. Now the third thing you could do is use somebody else's work that's done and then totally rewrite. Let's say you're in business and your competition has a killer website. They're making a fortune with the copy, or they have a great marketing letter and you say, I wish I had that. Or you're a student and you're trying to figure out what to write in a report. You can't think of how to get started. I'm going to show you a way to do that right now. I'm going to get out of screen share and actually I need to go in here. Give me a second. There it is. Perfect. Turning on the best spinner. Okay, take a second for it to turn on. I'm logging in and there we go. I'll make it full screen so you don't get dizzy. I'm going to just write some words at the top. An excellent big book on writing. Okay, so I just wrote a hypothetical title, an excellent big book on writing. What the best spinner is, it's a dynamic thesaurus. It looks at all the words other people have used instead of the words that are on the screen. So you take the copy that your competition has, you put it in TXT format. Or you take something that's written on the topic you want to write your report on, you put it in the spinner and watch what it does. I'll show you some example. So a good, a great, a strong, excellent, superb, outstanding, exceptional, fantastic, great, wonderful, big, large, huge, massive, major, significant, substantial, enormous, book, guide, ebook, publication, novel, booklet, course, on, about, upon, with, for, regarding, writing, composing, creating, producing. What you see is synonyms. So you put the copy here in the top window that is your competitor's successful marketing copy or material that someone wrote a report on that you need to write a report on. And then you spin it. We go to, let's find spin tools, grammar, spin it. Click this. Next to the big book on writing, spin the copy, new spin. Oh, I didn't, hold on. I have to find the synonyms. Okay. And so you click the spin, and when you're done, what it does is it changes the words. It puts in the synonyms for you. And so now I have a rewritten version of the copy my competitor is using. Or I have, let me get back in here. I have the original article someone else wrote rewritten. It's about 96, 97% changed. I never use spun copy. What I do is I use the spun copy as my outline. And so now what I do is I take out some of the ideas and put in my own. Some of the examples and put in my own. I add new ideas. I add new concepts. I add new stories, new anecdotes. When I'm done, the original spun copy disappears, just like the original song Paul was working with. And what I'm left with is original material. But I didn't start with a blank page. If you're in business, you started with copy that you know is successfully converting. And you rewrote it off of successful copy, which means you had a real good chance that the new copy will be just as successful. In school, you took an essay on a topic you need to write about, and you rewrote it. You spun it and then rewrote the spin. So it is new and it is yours, but you started with someone else's work to get you going, to get the juices flowing. So again, I don't use spun copy. I use spun copy as an outline so I can do what Paul did and completely rewrite it and substitute what's there with my own ideas, my own information, my own stories, my own quotes, my own examples. And it's brand new. It's not cheating. It's smart. It takes a lot less time and you'll get a lot more done. Now, math is something a lot of people dread. Not everyone, but as I mentioned, 38% of high school seniors can't count. Let me show you how easy math is when you use brain-based learning. Here's the problem. 103 times 107. You should have the answer right now without a calculator, just from your head. And yes, it's that simple. Would you like to see how it's done? All right, let's do it together. Notice these are two special numbers. They're both greater than 100. And they're both close to 100. We don't have 198. We don't have 98. Both numbers are just a little greater than 100. And this is a special case. How much bigger than 100 is 103? 3. How much bigger than 100 is 107? 7. So let's write those two differences next to the numbers, 3 and 7, and just multiply the two differences. What's 3 times 7? 21. How hard was that? That's the hard step. Now the easy step is to add diagonally. What's 103 plus 7? 103 plus 7 is 110. Well, what's 107 plus 3? It's 110. Interestingly, it's always the same answer. So whichever way it's easier to add, do it, because it's the same answer. Write it down, 110. 103 times 107 is 11,021, or 11021. How hard was that? How much math did you just do? Let me show you how I use this in school. When a student tells me they can't do math and they believe they can't do math, then it's an EQ problem. And they won't be able to do math till they can do it. And after they've done this, they say, look, you just did math. You told me you couldn't do it. They can't believe they can't do something that they're actually doing. In business, it's perfect for building instant rapport. If you watch the news, do you think there's too many smart people in the world making too many good decisions? Nobody's told me that's their number one complaint. So imagine you're a banker, an accountant, a financial planner, anyone who works with numbers, which is almost everyone in business, and you crunch numbers like this in your head for a client or a prospect, and you got it right without a calculator. What are the chances they look at you and say, wow, that's my accountant. That's the person I want to buy a house from. That's the financial planner I need to talk to. You appear to be brilliant. It's not a magic trick, it's science, and there's a lot of other math tricks you can learn that do just the same as this with more complicated numbers and concepts. But the concept is simple. I wanted you to see how it works. So you can now build instant rapport with people by astounding them with your feats of math. One of the things I wanted to talk about today is something I discovered, which is how to switch on genius. Most people think you gotta be born a genius. No, there's some are. Mozart was composing at 4. That's a genius. That wasn't someone who needed to be taught. But most of us can learn to be geniuses, and I'm going to show you how that works right now. I discovered how to communicate with the unconscious, which is your true genius. Using the old game of hot and cold, the emotions work the same way. If you remember the rules, let me explain them. When you're little kids, they'd have a group. One kid would go outside the door, and the room, they would hide something in the room, an object that they had to find. The person outside the room would have to figure out where it is, and they would give them a clue. If they got closer to the object, they were warm. And the closer they got, warmer, hot, burning, the closer you got, the hotter it was. The further away you got, it was cold, cool, cold, colder, coldest, so you knew you were moving in the wrong direction. So using hot and cold will work with the unconscious. Let me explain. Your unconscious brain is your supercomputer. Your conscious brain can only do 7 things at a time well. After that, it starts dropping the balls. The unconscious brain can do everything at once, but it doesn't talk. The unconscious brain doesn't use language. So what I do is I use speed reading and I load up my brain on information I need. I know the solution to my problem is in the books. I don't know where it is yet, but I have the raw data that'll solve my problem. And then I use the emotions. Let me show you how. I ask an emotionally significant question. What does that mean? If you said, Howard, do I need a root canal? And I said, you need 10 root canals. How would you feel? Pretty bad, unless you're the dentist. If you said, Howard, did I win the lottery? I said, you won $60 million. Would you feel good or bad? You'd feel good. So based on the question you asked, how should you feel, good or bad? And then examine your emotion. Do you feel good or do you feel bad? Based on the feeling, you know if it's a yes or no. If you ask enough yes and no questions, you eventually find the answers you're looking for. Now, initially you have to do this, but here's the beauty of the brain. It's plastic. When you use certain neural pathways repeatedly, they wire up. They become a superconductor, like learning to type, learning to swim, learning to play the guitar. Eventually it becomes instinctive. Same thing here. Initially you ask the questions. Over time, you're linking the limbic system, which is your emotional brain, to the forebrain, which is your thinking brain. And if you do it enough times, you don't have to ask the questions anymore. It becomes instinctive. And you become intuitive. You know exactly what to do. You create epiphanies on demand by learning how to feel what the unconscious brain is communicating to you. It's not words, it's sensations. I'll give you an example. You ever feel like there's something I really need to be doing now, but I don't know what it is? That's the unconscious brain alerting you that you need to be doing something, but it can't tell you what it is because it doesn't have words. It can only alert you and make you feel uncomfortable because you know you're not doing whatever it is you should be doing. Another way genius works is to change perspective. You have the same question everyone else has, the same data everyone else has, but you have a new answer. Let me show you how that works. Years ago, question was asked, how do I make money selling DVDs? And a company called Blockbuster had a great idea. We'll have tens of thousands of stores around the world. We'll buy the DVDs by the trainload so cheaply that we can rent them out at a price no one else can compete with. And what happened? Everyone went out of business except Blockbuster. Until Netflix came along, said we don't need stores and people working in them and utilities and overhead. We'll put a few warehouses together and we'll ship the DVDs by mail. And Blockbuster went bankrupt. They couldn't compete. Until A company called Redbox says we don't need the mail. We could make $1 a night in a kiosk like a Coke machine. Why is Netflix still in business? They changed their business model. They don't primarily make money shipping out DVDs. They have original programming. And that's where their business model kept them in business. Blockbuster missed it. They could have done original programming and stayed in business, but they continued with a model that was failing. You know, a lot of us get comfortable in our businesses because they're successful. What worked yesterday will not necessarily work tomorrow and could put you out of business. And right now, we have the same problem, new perspective. Which would you rather be, Blockbuster or Redbox right now, right? Or Netflix, even better. Here's some of my kids I was talking about. These kids took my program and they decided to start a business. One of the kids, the girl in the green, her brother has Down syndrome. And they decided they wanted to help find a cure. How are they going to do that? They're kids. They were 11 to 15 years old at the time. They decided to start a not-for-profit and raise money to buy special Downs mice to do research. So they built their own website by reading about it. I taught them how to read and learn. They learned public speaking. They spoke before Rotary's Lions and on TV. In their first year of business, these children, aged 11 to 15, made $93,000 for Downs research. And they won the Silver Pyramid, which is the Academy Award in advertising, as the best not-for-profit business model in America. Now think about this. They beat American Red Cross. They beat Rotary. They were 11 years to 15 years old. So you're 11 years old in your first year of business. You grossed $93,000 and were awarded as the best not-for-profit business in America. Imagine what this can do for an adult in business who's not 11 years old and has more schema and has more knowledge. Imagine what this can do for your kids. So when they grow up, they become entrepreneurial and know how to make a living. Something to think about, isn't it? Now I want to talk about memory. People often say, Howard, you read real fast. Do you remember anything? The answer is yes, I remember a lot. Here are 10 things to remember. And watch how poorly you'll do, and then I'll show you how to do it. You want to remember pole, shoes, tricycle, car, glove, gun, dice, gate, cat, and bowling pins. Is it safe to say you don't know all 10 things right now? Probably true. Backwards and forwards. In just a couple of minutes, you'll know them all, effortlessly. Would you like to learn how? All right, let's do it. The Greeks discovered thousands of years ago a shortcut to memory. Take a list you know and link it to a list you want to know. Things that you know are like hangers in a closet. They're hanging in memory. And what do you do with a hanger? You hang things on it. So we're going to use the numbers from 1 to 10, because if you're watching this, I bet you can count to 10. And by the way, children as young as 3 can do this successfully. Now, a little sidebar. You only remember 10% of what you read, but 90% of what you say and do. This is not just an exercise, it's a tool you'll use for the rest of your life. But you need to say and do this with me to get the full experience, or you won't remember it and then you won't get the benefit. So all I'm asking you to do is to repeat when I tell you to repeat, okay? Let's do it. Go full in. The number 1 looks like a pole, like a flagpole or a lamp pole. So when I say 1, you say pole. 1, pole. Make sure you're saying it. You really want to do this. 2 is shoes. How many shoes do you wear? You wear 2 shoes. So what's 1? Pole. And what was 2? Shoes. Excellent. 3 is a tricycle. How many wheels on a tricycle? 3. So 3 is tricycle. What was 2? 2 is shoes. What's 1? 1 is pole. And your brain is beginning to see how this works. 4 is a car. How many tires are on a car? 4. So what's 4? Car. What was 2? 2 was shoes. 1, pole. 3, tricycle. I'm jumping around on purpose to show you it's about associating and not learning a list in order. 5 is a glove. How many fingers are in a glove? 5. So 5 is glove. What was 3? Tricycle. And 1? Pole. Outstanding. You're getting it now. 6 is a gun. In Texas, they have cowboys that like 6 guns, right? 6 gun. What's 6? Gun. 4? Car. 2? Shoes. You're doing fantastic. 7 is lucky and dice, at least on the first throw. So what's 7? 7 is dice. What was 5? Glove. What was 3? Tricycle. And what was 1? Pole. You're almost done. Look how easy this is. Rhymes work. Say 8 skate. 8 skate. What's 8? Skate. 6. What do they love in Texas? Guns. 4. Car. 2. Shoes. Doing fantastic. Only 2 more. 9 is a cat. How many lives does a cat have? Cat has 9 lives. So what's 9? Cat. What was 7 lucky in? Dice. 5. Glove. 3. Tricycle. 1. Pole. All right. You're doing fantastic. 1 more. How many bowling pins in an alley? 10 bowling pins. 10 bowling pins. What's 10? Bowling pins. Let's do the list together you couldn't do at the beginning. 1. Pole. 2. Shoes. 3. Tricycle. 4. Car. 5. Glove. 6. Gun. 7. Dice. 8 rhymes with skate. 9 is a cat. And 10 bowling pins. And how does it make you feel? Great. When you feel great, do that. You just learned how to peg. Now, this is actually a way to speed learn numbers. Numbers can be confusing to remember, but pictures are much easier. So imagine you're in a hotel and the room is 314. How many times by the time you get to the lobby, you don't remember the room you were in? We're going to convert the numbers to pictures, which are easier, and make a movie. 3 is a tricycle, 1 is a pole, 4 is a car. A tricycle hits a pole on a car. Picture that. A tricycle hits a pole on a car. Tricycle, what number? 3. Hits a pole, what number? 1. On a car, what number? 4. So tricycle, pole, car is 314. And you can use this at work for due dates, percentages. You could use it for room numbers. In school, this is the value of pi. In geometry, 3.14 to measure a circle. So I teach it to young people for science, math, and history dates, and business people for SKU numbers on products, hotel rooms, phone numbers. Anywhere there's a digit, you can make a picture. And the 0 is the 10 bowling pins. It's the 0 is the 10 bowling pins. This is Brad. Brad finished college in 6 months, 4-year college. How do you finish 4-year college in 6 months? He went to Rutgers Online School, Thomas Edison, and they let you CLEP, C-L-E-P, out of 90% of your classes. It's an AP test called a CLEP. So he did 1 CLEP a day every day and 1 online course a week. And in 6 months, he became a missionary. That was his goal. Now, if you were trying to go to Harvard Law or medicine, that would not be a way to do it. But if you want to be a missionary, you just need a degree to prove that you can teach. This was a perfect solution for him. And to show you how smart he is, he learned Chinese in 3 weeks. So he's extremely smart. I did a graduate course in educational psychology, 4 graduate credits. I read the book. It was a 400-page book. In 7 hours, I read it 4 times. The AP test was 6 hours long. I finished in 50 minutes. I got a B+. And I didn't need an A. I needed a C. I needed the credits. I was a teacher. I needed the credits to stay active as a teacher at the time. I wasn't interested in the class. I was interested in the credits. So a B+ was way above a C-, which is all I needed. And I achieved my goal. And I got 4 graduate credits for $65 in less than 8 hours. That's a win. Can you see how this can help you? May I ask you a question? Did you learn something useful, something you can use, something that helped you to be more successful in life? You bet. So let me shut this down and go back to talking to you one-on-one. I'm going to put on the screen a download link while I'm doing this, where you can get the free book that I offered to you, the Speed Reading Bible. And all you have to do is click on it and it's yours as a gift. I have a number of really great programs that you can get right now by clicking on some of the links you'll see after this is over. You can learn how to read 100% faster with outstanding comprehension, easily and quickly. And you'll be able to understand better. You'll know what to look for, how to find it. We guarantee you'll read at least 100% faster, and we'll provide support to make sure you do. The writing program will show you how to eliminate writer's block and to get into flow. So I wrote a book in 5 hours. It's not that hard if you have a system. How to do speed math so you can impress your clients and have more rapport. And how to build a powerful memory to learn languages and vocabulary and important names and facts that are critical in every business. So I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to share with you some of the strategies that have made me the world's fastest reader and an excellent writer as well. Remember to download the Speed Reading Bible. That's a gift from us to you for staying to the end. And please consider getting the program. This program will change your life. This program will allow you in a knowledge-based economy to stay on top of the information you need to know to be successful in business. It's not just speed reading, it's speed learning. Whether it's a new law that affects your company and you need to learn it super fast, or show you how in a business you can learn important documents in 1/5 the time. Just like I showed you how to do all these other things. Yes, you can do that. If you're in school, how to finish your class in 1/5 the time. A number of memory strategies. You'll learn how to remember and how to take notes. You'll learn all the things you need to be successful in business and school. That anything that involves reading, writing, memory, or math, you'll be the expert. And we guarantee your success or you get your money back. I want to thank you for coming today. Enjoy the program. Click on the link and get started now, and I'll see you in the program. Thank you so much for coming today. Bye, everyone. Enjoy what you learn. Remember to tell your friends about this. Take care.